Hi everyone, today we're going to take a look at the Unit 5 lab, Building an Electromagnet. I do encourage you to take notes during this recording. There are some things that you will need to know, not only for quizzes and tests, but in order to complete the graded assignment that is coming up later in the unit. So as we jump in and take a look, I want to remind you again, if you are accessing your lessons from the daily plan only and not actually going to the science homepage, you are missing instructions like these for each lesson or assignment. They aren't included in every single one, but ones where there are lots of questions students usually have, I try to put as much help in there as possible. And so, for instance, I've had several emails and the answer is right here. So I just want to let you know, if you go into the science homepage and you go to content and you go down on the left-hand side to the unit, and you can even go down to the different lessons. So you go to the lesson that you're working on and it comes up to look like this. So the instructions here say this is an interactive lesson with a fun lab investigation to help with understanding of electromagnets. There is nothing to submit for grading, but you will need to complete the activity in order to answer part of the teacher graded assignment coming up in motoring on. If you are not able to complete the lab, meaning you're not able to gather the parts to build your electromagnet, you can watch this video and it will help you see what you're not able to do. So if we jump in and get started, the first page. So if you go in through the daily plan, it takes you right to here. So you would miss that information and that helpful video. So let's talk about electromagnets. It says building an electromagnet. Permanent magnets are definitely useful, particularly on your fridge, but you can't turn them on and off. Frequently, a temporary magnet is far more suited for the job at hand. Have you ever picked up paper clips with a magnet? An electromagnet, which is a temporary magnet, allows you to pick up the paper clips as well as drop them wherever you want. This may not be a big deal for small objects like paper clips, but it is extremely useful when it comes to lifting heavy metal objects. So think about if you have ever seen a junkyard or a scrap metal yard where they pick up like old cars or big metal pieces from old buildings and move them into piles to sort them. So having the ability to do that with a magnet that you can turn off and on to release the objects is very helpful. All right, so going into the lesson, this is where we are going to get the meat of the content. So we are understanding the parts of the electromagnet. Simply put, electromagnets are temporary magnets that use electricity to produce a magnetic field. So what are the three main parts of an electromagnet? So we're looking at the picture right here. There's a video here you can play, but we're looking at this picture to identify the three parts. So you have an electricity source, like a battery. You have a metallic core, like an iron nail or a screw, so something metal. And then you have a wire that is coiled around the metal core and it's connected to the battery to carry the electric current. So in your notes, you need to list the three main parts. Okay, a lot of students get confused. They read electricity source and for some reason their brain doesn't click. If you're looking here at an electricity source, that's going to be your battery, right? Think of any toy you've ever had that requires batteries to power it. Okay, then you have the metal core and then you have the wire that connects it to complete the circuit. So how can an electromagnet be made stronger? This is also something that needs to go in your notes, as I know it is one of the questions on the assignment coming up later. So the strength of the electromagnet depends on two factors, and that is one, the amount of electric current. Okay, so that would be dependent on like your battery, how big it is. And then two, the size of the wire coil. So meaning, do you have a lot of wires wrapped around the coil? So it's actually meaning the size of the coil. So if you have more wire wrapped around, maybe closer together, you're definitely going to have a stronger magnet than if there are fewer wire coils wrapped around. Okay. So if we go into the next portion, this is the step where you're asked to build an electromagnet. So again, if you're not able to do so, watch the video in the introduction and make sure you're understanding what you would need to build that electromagnet. Some of these things would be in your science kit. Other things that you have like paper clips, tape, think batteries, those would be at home. And let's see, going on to the next step. This is the procedure and it just tells you how to do it. So as you follow the steps, it shows you what your electromagnet should look like. And again, I always encourage you to go to the text version and print out the Word document, and it just gives you the steps listed one by one instead of clicking all these boxes. So it just gives you, again, the steps, and then you have really 7 steps here, so each one is going to tell you what to do. But again, I always print this. I think it's much easier. Okay, so it's talking you through how to build that electromagnet. Next, the investigation assignment. So investigating an electromagnet is the first of a 2-part assignment. So if you can see, these 2 things go together, building an electromagnet and the motor investigation. So this assignment page that comes up is the exact same page that you will see in the motoring on teacher graded assignment. So you only need to submit 1. That's why I did not have you submit this now, because you still need to go do the motoring on lab to be able to do these 3 questions. So if you build your electromagnet or you get through the lesson, answer these 5, save it somewhere safe so you can find it again when you complete the motoring lesson. So then you just have those other 3 questions to answer and you submit it in the motoring on Dropbox. All right, so there's nothing that you'll submit for this in this lesson, I should say. All right, and then you get to the lesson check. So taking a look at what we've learned, there's a little activity here that you can work through that just makes sure you understand how to make an electromagnet stronger. And then finally, just reviewing the parts that we've learned, understanding there is a link when you're talking about an electromagnet. If you break down that word, electricity as well as a magnet are becoming one. You've got a battery, a wire, and a nail. Remember that those are the 3 parts. Once they are linked together and you wrap the wire around the nail and attach it to the battery, it becomes a magnet. So you have to have the electrons flowing through the wire to make it. Remember, if we got into the discussion about magnets, it talks about the domains lining up, and that's what makes something magnetic or not. So when the electric current flows through the wire, it makes those domains in the nail line up, and then the nail becomes magnetic. And then why is an electromagnet considered to be temporary? Remember, you can turn it off and on by just connecting the wire or turning the power source on or off. Okay, so make sure that as you go through, you mark everything complete. And if we take another look, it's loading very slowly. All right, so back to the lesson page where we can see everything. This is not required. It's just, I can actually make it required to look at, but you don't have to print it and you don't have to submit it in this lesson. So there's no Dropbox. You can see that. Okay, so as we go back, there will be a recording or a live session that you can come to. So watch for that. And then you can also come see me in Help Lab if you have questions or anything like that. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.